Hello and welcome back to the channel. So if you haven't seen one of these before, I generally go through my account before every KvK that I play, just going over the account goals, the KvK goals and expectations, as well as maybe our enemies and how I think we're going to do in the KvK. I also end up going through my gear and armaments and commander selection and the commander pairings that I will be using for this upcoming KvK. That being said, I know that these kind of videos might get a little redundant, right? My account doesn't change all that much in 3 to 4 months back to back. So what I will do this time is actually go through and craft some iconic equipment. Now, I have been hoarding, and I am terrible at hoarding, so a part of me is just doing this video for my own sanity because I really got to make this set, and I am going to be rallying and garrisoning as a backup for my kingdom this KvK, so I think it's important that I put some iconics and iconic levels onto this infantry set that I do have. So yes, I did change my name. Yes, it's not a big deal. It's just something that my kingdom's doing, and I thought it would be kind of funny. But without getting too off track and too much into it, why don't we hop into the rest of the video. All right, so I'm gonna do as much of this in one take as I can because it's not generally difficult information. It's just going over my account as a whole. So yes, I have 124 million power. This is about 25 million power less than I had going to my last KvK. Obviously because I didn't push a Zenith prior to this KvK and I got my troop return. So naturally, I'm a little bit lighter than I was last KvK. So I'm at 8.1 billion kill points. My goal is to get at least to that fat 10 billion kill points at the end of this next KvK. I think I can. It's just going to depend on whether or not our opponents show up, and I will get into them. But just to go over kind of my equipment, gear, commanders, and things that we're going to be using. And again, we're going to have a crafting session at the end of this, so stick around. But my first pairing, infantry, I love infantry commanders, is going to be my Guan with Skippy. So Guan, Skippy, two great commanders. And I'm just going to go in here and show you the kills that I have for each so that we can compare them to the end of the KvK. So I can show you how many kills each pair got and what was my best performing March. So 43.5 million kills on my Guan, obviously really good. It should be something similar on my Skippy, 56. I use him to cheeseburger, so it would make sense that he would have a little bit more. Now, my next pairing for infantry is going to be, where is she? My Gorgo. So Gorgo is obviously really strong, surprisingly strong for the open field. I did also mention that I would be a backup garrison for my kingdom, not KvK, for my kingdom. And that being said, this commander is still really strong in the open field. The talent build that I'm going to be running, while this is my garrison, is going to look something like this for open field. I want to get as much march speed as I can. I could have gotten these talents, but I just figured the stats would be better. And all that being said, I'm going to pair her with Liu Che, who is very strong as a normal attack damage commander. I'm going to mess around with this, doing Gorgo primary and Liu Che primary. All in all, I think it's best with the Gorgo primary because the reduced rage and the buffing of the active skill, but the attack tree is just so good for the normal attack commanders that, you know, there is maybe a world where this talent is just so good that it makes it better, right? So 6% all damage, just flat out 6% all damage is pretty insane. And then obviously if you're able to retain combat for a long time, this is just 10% all damage. I mean, you're looking at 16% all damage in this attack tree alone. It's pretty insane. Now, I did miss the armament, so I'm just going to go over that real quick. So this is my infantry armament set. This is my main wedge set. Obviously really nice. I do have that hunter on there. And then for my Gorgo and Liu Che combo, this is my arch set. Again, this is actually without spending on armament, so it just goes to show you if you are, well, a little bit lucky, obviously, and then do take the time to re-roll the right armaments, it can actually turn out to be pretty good for you. So now, I can't just say that it's a skill-based system. Armaments are obviously 100% luck, but I did get lucky. It's quite nice. All right, now going into my calves, what am I going to be running? Well, this should be no surprise to anybody. This is going to be Nevsky with Joan. I still think that this is the single best cav pair in the game. I know that Huo is a punchy commander, but it just does not have the same synergy as Nevsky does with Joan of Arc, and it also doesn't really provide any debuffs besides just march speed. So, you know, this 45% defense reduction is absolutely insane. The skill damage increase is absolutely insane, and the tankiness of Nevsky is just unrivaled. So you see my set here, nothing super crazy, but it is quite nice. No full crit set because I'm obviously an infantry main player. When I say infantry main, I mean my best set of gear is on infantry, but I really spread the love across all my marches. So this is my main cav armament set. Fine, the stats are a little bit low, but the hunter is nice because I have won all of my KvKs since the system came into the game, which is very, very fortunate. Also, I'm again doing this all out of order, but my gear that I'll be using on my Gorgo is going to look something like this, which is my backup infantry set. All right, my next pairing that I have for Cavs is going to be my Huo with William. So like I said, Huo, a good commander, still going to be using him in the field over my XY. The gear that I have is pretty good. I've got the KvK stuff on this set, and I did just get around to crafting my 4th ring. So the armaments that I have on this commander are not quite as good as my other one. You know, I've got actually pretty low stats, but a lot of march speed, which, believe it or not, lets you catch up to a lot of enemies when you're in the open field. This will be my next hunter inscription probably, but we're not worried about that too much. These are a little bit weak, but I'll be able to re-roll these soon. I haven't had the transmutation stones in order to get around to it. Obviously, I really, really, really like this inscription for Cavs. Generally, I stay away from reactive inscriptions, right? Like counterattack damage done unless you're a garrison or something. I generally don't like those, but when you are Cav, you are targeted heavily because you're moving first into the ball, and people love hitting Huo. So this 5% counterattack damage is actually a really nice inscription, so I'll probably keep that one around. So those are my 2 Cav sets. Now let's get into archers. So my archer marches, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I know that Herman just came into the game, and I actually have 0 kills on him. But Herman just came into the game, and most people are pairing Zhuge Liang with Herman. It is great. If I had 1 archer march, I would be pairing it. But I actually did my own testing video, which I'll link in a card right above me now. But I did a testing video that showed the power of Herman and YSG together. Now, it's really weak when it gets targeted, okay? It reminds me a lot of an XY with William combination, but I believe that my skill in the open field is actually pretty high. And so what I'm going to be able to do is micro this march in order to get the most kills possible while taking his little steps. If it turns out that it's just getting wrecked in the open field and people are targeting my Herman primary, then I'll swap to Zhuge Liang with Herman and then maybe a Boudica with YSG. But for now, I'm actually going to go Herman primary with YSG secondary, and I will run Zhuge Liang with Boudica secondary. And why Boudica secondary? Well, the way that Zhuge Liang runs basically with this expertise skill is you actually want Zhuge Liang to be the primary commander so that that rage starts filling up quicker, and it actually saves you some talent points. Now, I've gone over this talent build in the past, but long story short, you actually skip Rejuvenate, and of course I don't have it now because this is the combination that, or this is the talent tree that you would run with Herman, but basically if you were to not run with Herman, you would actually drop Rejuvenate completely and go all the way into this Whistling Arrows tree up here and skip Feral Nature. So that being said, Zhuge Liang with Boudica, I want that Zhuge Liang active skill going off as fast as possible, and I'll be running Herman with YSG. Now, as far as the gear goes, pretty cool. Yes, I love my drums. Yes, I love my rings. All that being said, it's pretty nice. This is my main archer set for my formation here for Wedge. And then as far as my second archer set, this is what it's going to look like. You know, not as many iconics, but I did get full legendary, and this is my backup for the archer set. Again, I really don't spend much on armaments. I've just been fairly lucky in that regard. Now, as far as the kills, I know that I missed some of them, right? Nevsky at 51. Zhuge Liang is at 20 because he's relatively new. Huo is at 9.6, again, relatively new. Boudica, 30, which is quite nice. Constantine, definitely not using him. Gorgo should be at relatively 0. Yeah, 199, haven't used her yet. We've got Skippy, already went over. We won't really be using Nebu. Joan of Arc, we have 44. Obviously, my Nevsky Joan has been popping off. My Herman should be at 0, and he is at 0. So that being said, those are the commanders that I'm going to use this KvK. I only get up to 6 marches. I don't get to 7, but if I am going to get to 7 in the future, I am buying dailies for my Trajan, and so hopefully one day I can run Trajan. And this is also going to shock you. Cav set is somehow looking pretty decent for echelon formation on my Trajan. So, you know, in the case that the new Cav commander comes out and it's, you know, Huo with the new Cav commander and William gets benched, well, to be fair, I think I'd rather run William over Huo in my murder ball anyway, but that's a topic for another time. I will still want to bring my William into the field, and that will probably be a Trajan William combo. But again, these are like way too many video ideas coming up at once. So that is the plan for now, but it could be pretty cool in the future. So real quick, now that we are in the kind of zone of commanders and equipment and armaments, we're going to go in and actually upgrade this legendary infantry set. So let's hop over and see how this goes. All right, so here we are in the blacksmith, and the first thing that I want to say is I actually did come out with a guide recently telling you which iconic levels you should prioritize versus critting. Now, I don't really have to worry about crits because my infantry set is already crit, but the rules for the iconic levels and what levels you should get all your pieces for the best and most optimal upgrade still applies here. So obviously the goal is to get everything to iconic level 2 first. So we're going to go in here and we're actually going to upgrade the things that I don't have to iconic level 2 yet. So first things first is the Hope Cloak, right? So we're going to use this, right? Awaken, fantastic. Fortunately, I don't have to worry about crits, but not that anything that I ever make crits anyway. So Hope Cloak to iconic level 2. We have something else now. Gloves to iconic level 2 should be fairly cheap, right? Yeah, so only 10 legendary materials, a lot of gold, so that's a little painful, but gloves to iconic level 2, simple enough. All right, next thing up, I think we already have, so these are iconic level 3, so we don't really need to worry about these yet. So the helmet, I do actually need to worry about a little bit, so we're going to get this to iconic level 2 as well. No, it is not the KvK helmet. I know it's a little painful, okay, that I made the set helmet, but I really wanted that march speed, and that is really the best that I have. That being said, what else do I need? So the boots to iconic level 2, I believe, yeah? And if I could, and this is what I say in my iconic and refine guide, is that if I was going strictly open field here, I would actually get my boots to iconic level 5 as fast as possible for this march speed. But because I am rallying garrisoning, we're just going to go in with the iconic level 2. Boom. So we are in a good spot. So what does this look like now as far as my rally and garrison set? So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. We're not going to worry about the accessories. And this is what it kind of looks like. So now we're going to go in and finish the chest and the legs. All right, so I think I have enough legendary materials for that, but I'm not entirely sure. So let's just press the button and hope we get there. So, all right, iconic level 3, very nice. Okay, looks good. Iconic level 4. And should I do these? Yeah, troops on the map seems good, just in case I don't have enough materials, right? We're going to go in with that. All right, iconic level 4. And then Willy, what does Willy do? Next skill damage it takes. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty defensive. All right, so we are actually out of materials, which is fine. So we got to iconic level 4, and we're going to get... we're just going to stop there, right? So 2 iconic level 4s. Hopefully we end up getting both of those level 5 by the time fighting starts. But generally, this is what our set looks like for now for our rallying garrisons. So I could have ended up making a crit ring. I do have 4 rings, so it would have been a 100% crit chance. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. But like I said, I already have 8 legendary equipment pieces, or not equipment pieces, but accessories. And so I would have had to like sit one on the bench and just waste 120 legendary materials. And that's not something that I'm in the mood for. So anyway, this set for now is fine for my backup rallying garrison set. Again, I will probably get that chest and the legs to iconic level 5 by the time fighting starts. Hopefully I end up doing that on stream so you guys can watch it, but it's a lot less exciting, I think, iconicizing equipment than it is watching something craft, because obviously there's no chance for crits, which comes with benefits and some downsides, right? It's not as exciting when you're doing it, but at the same time, it's nice not getting absolutely and completely destroyed. So now that we have our gear, equipment, and our commander pairings all lined up for you, as well as kind of how they've done in the past as far as my total kills go, we're actually going to go into my allies and enemies this KvK. And really quick, a lot of you know, hopefully, but I am now in 1981. We're not really pushing this pre-KvK because I think we're an experienced kingdom. I think most people realize that you should only really push pre-KvK if you are hoarding AP and you just have a ton left over. You can spend a bunch on Marauders to get really good rewards, but if you are playing it safe and you chain all KvK like I do, you really don't have AP to spend on pre-KvK, and it's just not worth it for your account. So today is the very start of training day. Maybe we go up a little bit here, but again, I don't really see us going up by much. Maybe get that 4th place for the training speed, but that's okay. So as you can see, we're facing these variety of kingdoms here. We are in the water side. Now, that being said, I'm actually going to pull up a graph on screen for you guys to look at to show where we were thinking when we were first in the Diplo phases of this KvK. And the way that it works with Nile, funny enough, is that you actually get to choose your allies and enemies. And then hopefully Lilith Matchmaking pairs you with the camp that is most similar to your camp or your group of kingdoms. Without spoiling too much, let's look at the chart and I'll show you what we were thinking. All right, and now that we're over here and you can kind of see the matchmaking summary that we have up above, I do want to just let you know that this is based on the 1093 Discord and scan data that they have. Link will be down below in the description if you are interested. It's basically a rough draft of the power and KP that each kingdom has in the game that they scan. We understand that this might not be entirely accurate 100% of the time. In fact, sometimes the KP numbers for certain kingdoms are a little inflated because occasionally it does account for inactive accounts that have disappeared off the map but are still on the power rankings. So that being said, it is what we went with. The only way that we could get around that was if our rank 4s made level 8 city halls in every single kingdom, and then they scanned every single kingdom individually, and honestly that costs a lot of time, a lot of money. And so for preliminary matchmaking purposes, we weren't really, or I say we, I'm not part of the R4s and council of this kingdom anymore, but I imagine that that was part of the reason we used the 1093 Discord and the 1093 scan system. So now, what were we thinking as far as matchmaking? So while I am not in our council anymore, I can kind of tell you what I think happened. And primarily is we wanted a fair and even fight. So when we were first queuing up, we actually queued with kingdom number, I believe it was 10. So team number 10. And we were going to queue with 1356 and 1016 and essentially queue into 2614's team number 3. So we looked at this matchup and we realized that odds are it's not going to be a good situation for us. Now, I'm not saying that 1981 is scared of fights by any means, but that's like saying, you know, I don't know, a normal kingdom would fight into 1093 and yes, like, oh, charge, but there's no real chance that you're going to win. Okay, so we understood that we were going to be about 10 billion power less and about, I don't know, 400 billion KP less, and we just realized that that wasn't a situation that we wanted. It was also a situation where even if we did win, we would have no chance at the star because we are somehow B seed for this matchmaking. We would be essentially paired with their worst A seed, essentially have no chance for the star. Now, all that being said, I believe our management and our Diplo ended up going with team number 5, which is what you see currently. So we are now around that 94 billion power mark with 1.3 trillion kill points. So this was a lot better. As you can see, there are a lot of teams that we thought that we would be playing against that we would be much happier against rather than the 2614 variant in team 3. So, excuse me, we have 1623, for example, which is higher power than us by about 10 billion, but about 300 billion less kill points. Would it have been a great matchup? I think so, right? They would have had more troops. You might have had a little more harder hitters. So it would have been a really good matchup. Another matchup that we were thinking was maybe we would get Team 7, which is the 1647 variant. They actually have more kills than us by about 300 billion, but we had slightly more power, so that would have been really fun. I mean, 2369 with Team 4, I think that would have also been a good matchup, right? So you can see that there are a lot of good matchups on paper. Now, what did we get? Well, Lilith gave us none of these. Unfortunately, we got absolutely none of them. It's a real bummer that we were the one kingdom out of all these kingdoms, or not kingdom, but one team out of all these teams that were right around the same power, right around the same kill points, and we actually got matched up with the X team. So we ended up getting a really high power opponent with really low kill points. Now, we don't actually have data on these kingdoms because they didn't have a team going into matchmaking. This is the Lilith made group. And if we actually hop back into the game here, you can see that we did get 1003. Now, I think ironically 1003 is technically an Imperium kingdom. They have something like 24 or 23 billion power as a kingdom. But they have very, very low kill points. And why is this? Well, they're one of the first kingdoms in the game, probably have a ton of accounts there that log in every once in a while and just don't contribute because they're new players who never really got into the game. So, you know, we are matched against them. They do have a ton of power. Now, if they're going to use that power, that's up to them. So, do I think that this is going to be an easy KvK? I would lean towards the side of yes. And I don't mean that with any disrespect towards any of the kingdoms that we're playing against. It's just the reality of the situation. Even though we don't have the scans of your kingdoms, we can guess that they have about half the kill points of our kingdoms. A lot more power. So there is a chance. There's a great chance if they all show up. But we just don't know if they're all going to, come and show up. So that being said, I am 100% on board to be proven wrong. I would put our odds to win this KvK at about 2-1. I think we're pretty heavily favored. I think 1981 is also pretty favored to get the star in this situation, as we might be one of the strongest kingdoms, even as the B seed in this matchup. So, please prove me wrong. I've got all these resources. I expertise all these commanders. Like, I am ready to go, baby. I'm trying to hit that 3 billion kill points again. So I'm all on board for them kicking us in the mouth. Let's just see it happen. So this KvK should be a ton of fun, guys. I'm obviously going to be streaming it. Every pass, every, Kingsland opening and altar fights, we are doing Nile. So it should be pretty interesting. I've already taken off the work, so I'm going to be there because I'm always there for every fight. Anyway, I really hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and sub if you did enjoy the content. Again, I didn't mean any disrespect by any kingdom that I might have badmouthed or said that your KP is low. I'm just kind of trying to give you the thought process about what our leadership might have been thinking about when they did choose our allies for this KvK. And I hope it provided a little bit of insight so that you guys out there know what goes on behind the scenes for situations like this. And to the other kingdoms that we left, right? So 2356 in those kingdoms, much respect. I would have loved to have a crazy fight with you guys, but I think that the fighting might have been a little unfair. Anyway, best luck to you guys in your KvKs. It should be a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm rambling way too long in this conclusion. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys around next time. Peace.